Hiya guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. Hey, Green Jumper's back. So, as the title suggests, we're going to do a couple of little improvements to my quick change tool post, or the way it sits on the riser block. So we'll go to the lathe, explain that. Yeah, we need to do a bit of work on the lathe, I think, just improve it and what have you. I do need to make that little die holder insert as well for the VA dies, job I've been meaning to get on with for a while, so we'll show a little bit of that in this video as well. And a future project coming up about the feed on the lathe. We'll do a little description of that as well. So anyway, let's get to it. Cheers guys. So my lathe is clean. Well, I won't say clean, it's not spotless, but there's no swarf on it, and I've given it a wipe down and what have you. There's still junk everywhere. Now, I think I've been neglecting this lathe a bit, and there's a few little niggles with it that I want to address. Main one being the feed motor that I've got on it. I've got all the components to replace it with I think it's a NEMA 23 or NEMA 32, can't remember. A stepper motor, which is a lot quieter. Let me just demonstrate. We got power. Yeah, it's it's very speed. I'll bring you down and show you the setup. So yeah, I got this little motor, horrible howly thing, on a variable speed controller up on the wall. Basically a 24 volt motor. I've got directional, forward and reverse. My arrows are worn off, but that's reverse that way, and that's forward, and then variable speed. And as you can see, I can drop it down real slow. Let's go slower than that. Let's have a look. That would be a real fine feed. Up to more of a fast traverse or coarse speed. Not for screw cutting, just for power feed. So I think we're going to start making some parts and a frame and, something to do to sort this out and stop this horrible racket when I'm using the feed on the lathe. And there's one other little project I want to do on the lathe. So I've got my riser block, solid riser block, no compound I'm using at the moment on the lathe. And I've got my quick change tool post. All of this, every single piece, was all made, even the tool holders, on the lathe before I had a milling machine. But I'm just going to pop this tool post off. It's up against a register here and on this space, which locks it into square and keeps it in a fixed position. It's not very versatile. Let me just pop off the tool post. So having removed the tool post, you can see the shoulders here and here where the tool post sits hard against. I think what I'm going to do is take this block off, take it to the mill, and I'm going to remove this step altogether. That will allow the tool post to be able to be rotated to get tools in on different angles, but I think I do want to fit a key on this back edge, on this back edge here, that I can drop in and take out a couple of Allen bolts and a key that drops into a slot, which is hard against the back of the tool post. So yeah, so we're going to use a bit of work on the mill to improve the lathe, rather than the lathe improving the mill. We've got my new cutter on the go, 3-tipped cutter, running at 900 RPM, 22 mil I believe it is. I've been taking 1 mil cuts, but I'm getting close now, so I've been thinking on this, and I've actually got the opportunity to machine this surface over completely. I've been thinking whether I do that, as originally it was machined on the lathe, and I think I'd stand a far better chance of having a flat surface in relation to the bottom if I do it on the mill. I think it would improve the flatness of it, or squareness to the base. So I'm just thinking it now, whether I shouldn't just flash this whole surface off. I think I will. how I'm going to hold it, I don't know. So I'll have to take these two clamps off. Let's have a rethink on this. So I've rejigged it a bit. I've now got my larger vise set up, squared up to the table, clamped down, part in the vise, down hard on my two 1, 2, 3 blocks, one this side and one the other side. So I'm just working my way across here. I just want to take it down so that I'm basically, that's about 0.1 off there. I just want to take it down flush, and then we're going to machine across the whole surface with a scratch pass. So I'm having to play with this to see what sort of speeds I can get, what sort of finish I can get. The finish looks great. Okay, yeah, I think another 0.1 off there. Let's try that. 0.15 that was. I think that's just about brought it flush. If I can look back across, a little faster I think. Try that for feed rate. Yeah, that looks good. And yeah, I think I'm going to take 0.15. I'm going to set a 0 there in Y. I'm going to move over 11 mil with every pass. So let's do this as a number 1. So let's come down 0.2. See how that works out. I'm hoping, in fact, I think that's going to do it. So this is the finishing pass. Then I'm going to step over 11 mil at a time, half a cutter. I'll let that run off the end. Step over 11, go back the other way. Okay. Just wipe everything down. Okay, so that's lovely. I think I could probably just run that over a stone just to make sure that there's no lumps and bumps, but it doesn't, can't feel anything. I can see machining lines, but yeah, good place to start. So the L shape was here. This was operator side, this was the back face. So I'm going to get my Sharpie just to remind myself this area is where we want a pocket for a key. So I've got this set up, and I know this is square in the middle, this block, and it would be simple to put this tool post square and then take a measurement from this outer edge to where the key is. But I don't know, I can't prove that when this is bolted down onto the lathe that it's square, the outside of this is square to the axes of the lathe. I know it's pretty close. I think when I've set this up I had it bolted dead square on the edge of the cross slide, you know, dead parallel. But I don't know, in fact it would have been this space that was dead parallel to the cross slide. So I think what I'm going to do is bolt this back on the lathe and then square my tool post up on the block, square on the register on the face of the lathe. Set this tool post on here and lock it down in the right place, and then I can just do some measurements and check it out. So what I can do then is bolt this back on here, or leave it on, and I can clock this space, which is where I'm going to register, to the travel of the mill. And I know that's where I need to put the key, the pocketed key, in here. It's going to be sort of 6 mil wide by sunk in probably 3 mil and stuck up 3 mil, something like that. Maybe a 6 mil square key. We'll see what fits. So I bolted this block back down. When it was all locked down, I took this bolt out because I won't be able to get it out after. Put the tool post on loosely. 1, 2, 3 block square against the base of my register of the lathe. Squared the block up to it, and as you can see, it sat there nicely, and tightened back up. So I can now gauge or measure this space. I'll have to take this block back off again now, and we'll see where we go. So I've just loosened the clamp on one side of the vise. The other clamp's here on this back face, and I've just been tapping the vise round. We're looking for a reading of 10 I started on. It's about half a thou down there. Okay, let's just reset that clock onto a 10 there. We've got it. So now I know when I mill the slot, it's going to be parallel to the edge of the block when I want the block, and the block will be square to the the lathe when this block is bolted down. There's no or very little or absolutely no movement when you've got these 4 bolts in. That block stays put and goes into the same spot every time. So I think I'll scribe a line there now, or attempt to. Get the Sharpie into the corner. The key will have to stop there, and it could go to about there. Okay, so I'm going to drop a keyway into here now. So we've got the visor, certainly the face of the tool post was all squared up with the clock, and I've scribed a very fine line on there now. So what I'm going to do is actually cut the keyway beyond the face of the, or what is going to be where the quick change tool post sits. I'm not explaining this very well, but I'm going to go like 1 mil beyond, and then I can make the width of the key to be a perfect fit to keep against the back and against the tool post, so that when I take a tool post out, the key is very easy to remove. If I made a fitty key in a fitted slot that was dead on the edge of the tool post, it just makes life more difficult. So yeah, it's just a lot easier this way. So I'm going to just decide on the 2 extremities. So I'm going to call something like that the end. So let me just turn the power on. I'm going to set a 0 in X there. X0. Okay. And I'm going to go the other way. I did just put a couple of marks on with Sharpie. So a nice round figure down here somewhere. 42 mil. 42. Okay. So out with a Sharpie. Just right on the vise. 0. 42. Okay. So I now know where my extremities of the slot is going to be. So I blind the edge of the cutter up on that line, and I'm actually going to set Y to 0, and I'm going to come back 1 millimeter, which is there. Set Y to 0 again. Okay, so I think my overall width of the slot, so I'm just going to write a 0 on my vise there. That's the furthest extremity. And I think the overall width of the slot, don't really want to break out the edge. So that's 2.5 mil. So that being a 5 mil cutter, that give me a 7.5 mil slot. That's fine, I can make the key to suit. So yeah, I'm going to call it 2.5. Now a depth. I'm going to have a 7.5 mil key, or in fact it'll be less than that, it'll be 6.5 mil, because the keyway, the slot, goes under the tool post by a mil. So I'd have a 6.5 mil key, that's fine. I've got plenty of material to make a key with. Yeah, so if it's 6.5 mil deep, 6.5 mil wide, I think I'm going to sink it in. If I made it 8 mil high and I sunk it in 4, I'm going to sink it in 3 mil. So I'm going to go down into the cast 3 mil deep, so the key is embedded 3 millimeters down, and we will be bolting this key down. Okay, so just come off the limits, somewhere in the middle. Here we go, and I'm going to cut the keyway. So we're getting it now 2.5 mil deep, half mil to go. So with the slot to depth, I'm widening it out now. I came across until I lined up with the line, and I've just gone a further 0.5 millimeter. So I'm just going to go around the periphery now, cleaning up all the surfaces. Okay, so that's the slot done, 3 mil deep. It goes 0.5 millimeter underneath the quick change tool post. It's about 1 mil from this edge, and I think I went 42 mil between there and there, so it's about 47 mil long. But anyway, so I got a piece of 10 mil square gauge plate, 01, nice tough stuff. I think that'll be lovely to make a key with. So just line it up on the end and mark a line on it. I'll cut it off there with a hacksaw, and then we can mill it to length and mill it to shape. So I've machined the key, file the ends over, put a radius on both ends. Well, not full radius, the radius to match what's in the slot. It turned out to be sort of smack on 8 mil wide. I've left it 10 mil high for now. I machined it to length first, and it does go in. I've had it in. Was it that way? Was it that way? There. Yes. And it does fit. One way. Anyway, that's not to worry. It's probably a little bit smaller radius on this end. I can play with that. Right, so I've got a key that fits and is fitty as in there, and it doesn't move. And it doesn't move anywhere. Right, okay. So what I need to do now is basically bolt it down into the bottom of the slot. So that's going to be the next job. But bearing in mind, I'm going to have to take material off this side, but we'll work that out in a bit. I'm just trying to make a decision on bolts. These are M5 and the head's too big. By the time I countersink it, it's going to break through the wall. But M4, if I countersink it, when I do the countersink, or position them, I make them right over to this side. Not so much as they'll break through. I might even skim the heads down on these bolts a touch. I think they're 6.8 now, something like that. If I drop them down to sort of 6 mil or 5.9, I can just use a flat bottom. I can use a 6 mil cutter as a flat bottom. So I think that's the way I'm going to go with those. So M4 it is anyway. So that's the key in place. A couple of M4 bolts bolted down, and I offset them in the key this way. Just I think it was about 0.75 of a mil, just to leave a bit of extra wall thickness on this side. So that's the key in its position, fitted. Now as it stands, this space of the key is going to be too far over, and the tool post will foul it. So I need to get a measurement from the tool post to the back edge of this slot. I think we'll use slip gauges for that. So I'm going to take the key back out, put the tool post back up, and then we'll use some slip gauges to see what the distance is from this back face to the edge of the quick change tool post. And once we've got that figure, I'll put a step in this key to suit. just to demonstrate, I've actually put the tool post back on its post, and I've clocked the face of the tool post back up again to the travel of the mill, which is parallel to the slot. So, okay, so we got a better chance of gauging it properly. So, 7.5, that's a 6 and a 1.5 slip, fits in there. If I swap over and add a 1.6, yeah. So 7.6 doesn't fit. So I'm going to aim at 7.55, perhaps. Yeah, I think 7.55 and we'll be on it. And that doesn't fit wherever you put it, just to make sure I am parallel. And that does fit wherever you put it. So, 7, let me write this down. Sharpie, where are you hiding, Mr. Sharpie? There we are. I am aiming for 7.55. Or on the plus side, and we'll try it. So I'm going to take this back out again now. We've finished working on this, and the key here, I've just marked which side I need to be machining off so I don't do an idiot on it. And I can go back up in the far vise here and machine a step in this until I get a thickness of 7.55, or yeah, perhaps I'll go for 7.6 and keep trying it, you know, skimming a thou off at a time till we get something that just drops in. So I'm leaving a 2.8mm thick up the full width at the back, which means that my back face as I'm milling at the moment is going to be below surface, but only by 0.2 of a mil. It's approximately 8.1 at the moment, so I'm just doing a 0.2 cut off it, and I'm going to get the mic on it and see where we are, set to 0, and then I know where the end point's going to be. So I need to get the mic out. I just measured it up. We're currently at 7.86, so there's approximately 0.3 to come off. So I'm going to take 0.15, take another cut, we'll have another measure. In fact, I'm going to take this 0.15, then I'm going to take 0.05, so I'll take a 0.2 off, should leave me 0.1. We'll see. Getting scary close to the top of the vise, but I'm pretty sure we're okay. We're probably 0.3 or 0.4 off the vise as we stand at the moment. But yeah, cutting it fine with a height of parallel, or the size of parallel that I chose. But there we are. I'll bring you back when we're done. Okay. $7.552. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. If I've got to do a little bit of stoning or what have you, then we'll do the rest with an oil stone if it needs a bit more. There we are, back on the lathe, all sorted. I've just had to reset the heights of all of my lathe tools. Had to just pack them up a touch because we took a little bit off this surface. But happy days, we're all back to square one where we should be. So, yeah, that's the first part of the job done. So, I've decided on M5 grub screws. So we'll put the first one in. Little centre drill there. Bit deeper. Okay. Swap him out for the 4.2 drill. Oh, we're going to have to go up a bit. That'll do me. That's 4.2 drill. And M5 tap, which I have somewhere. Here we are. In fact, I was going to use a tap wrench, but I just as well put it in a chuck. Okay. Ooh. Let's just come out of the way. But I've set a 0 there, so I know where to come back to for centre. Not that it's important at this stage. Okay, so that's the first hole done. Now, I've had a look, and it appears that the holes, where they need to be, it's these are at 90 degrees apart, these two holes. If I put this one on the top, that one's at 90 degrees, so I'm guessing they're 45 degrees. So I need to take this now and set it over at 45 degrees. If I just wind that tap back in, it gives me something, a guide of where that is. I shouldn't have taken the tap right out, should I? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to take that out of the vise. Get something over here which is at 45 degrees. Set it up left and right at 45, and then just find the center again. Okay, so I've got a 45 degree angle gauge in there, running parallel to the tap, brought it round so that's at 45 degrees now to the center line. I've had to put it on a couple of parallels just to line it up, but that was simple enough. So just take that tap back out of there now. I've locked the vise. I haven't moved anything in Y. And I'm at a point where I'm drilling in Y, 5mm from the back of the counterbore, so that comes to the center point, correct for the points. Okay, that makes sense to me. Right, so I'll just put my center drill back in there now. Okay, so come back somewhere near over center. A little bit more to go yet. Use the old level rule trick. Looks good. Okay, lock X. That drill go low enough, probably. So that's the second hole of the 3. So final little job, put a dimple in the back here so that I can use one of the grub screws from the existing diameter die holder just to lock that in place and stop it turning. And there we are, there's 6mm grub screws, so I put just a dimple with a 6mm drill. That should do it, that should more than do it. So, other than a bit of deburring, that's my little adapter made. So the next project, remove this slot off the end of here and fit a stepper motor drive. Similar system, we're going to put that pulley on the end of there. We may modify this original pulley with a V-groove in and put the handle in the end of the pulley here. I think that might be the way forward, might be the way I go. So we'll probably end up boring this out, making it fit onto this piece so that we got an adapter, that sort of idea. yeah, why not? I think we'll go for that. But I think we've got enough for this episode, guys. So this will be a complete new project. I'll show it from start to finish in a fresh couple of videos. So I'm starting to get some paint on the machine now. Yeah, I got a board here and I took it outside. It was actually a sunny day, and give it all a coat of undercoat. Or not all of it. I've done a few of the parts. Yeah, first coat of a grey primer. So yeah, while it was wet, I scraped these flat surfaces off with my fingernail. But obviously all the fit areas I'm going to stone off or scrape off with a razor back to bare before I paint it with a finish coat. I may put another coat on this yet. Flywheel seems to have come out alright. Obviously where I've got overspray all over the shiny bits, that'll all be polished off. I'll put it back in the lathe. And the same with these bridges. I think the idea is I'm going to have red paint just on the scallops on these, and all I got to do is put them down on a flat stone or some wet and dry and just polish them back as I did when I polished the machining marks off originally. So it might look a bit drastic, but I've sprayed everything that needs to be black, and obviously parts of the metal that are covered in black paint at the moment, I'm going to scrape back and polish the bits that need to be bare metal. So, you know, such as the rim of the flywheel and things like that, that'll all be scraped back. I'll probably put it up in the lathe and polish the black off. The flat areas and around the cylinder where I don't want black, I just want this cast area black, I can just scrape it back. The little pockets in the valve cover, they are now black paint, so I'll let that go off and then scrape the flat area, or, you know, basically put it on some wet and dry and take the paint off on the areas without the black. Same with the cylinder end caps. It's only the centre bit that needs to be black, but rather than go all through the masking side of things, it's easier for me to just polish up the areas back to bare metal where I don't want paint. And the same with the cross rails, the little scallops here now undercoated and blacked, and I can just lap them over, back off, the same way as I did when I removed the machining marks, as I said before, to leave just the scallops in black. So yeah, that's another step closer. I haven't got any paint yet for the main body casting. I'm going to go for a sort of British racing green type colour, I think. I was tempted to do the flywheel red and these little scallops red, but I've decided to go a bit more sedate and do it in black. I think that'll look nicer with the model. So it'll be basically the brass colour will show out the British racing green and the black, and obviously the bare metal areas. We may do a little bit of lacquer on the bare metal areas to stop rusting going forward. We might do a little bit of chemical bluing on some of the nuts and bolts. I still haven't decided. We'll see what it looks like as we start to assemble it. Well, there we are, a couple of little catch-up snippets of the steam engine and how we're getting along with that with the paint. So anyway, another project coming up obviously is going to be the new stepper motor drive on the lathe. It's about time we gave the lathe a bit of love. We've been playing around with a milling machine for too long, but it is the newer of the two toys. Anyway, as usual guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.